All right, so we have volume of cones today. Um, so as we learned, it's 1/3 of a cylinder. So it's 1/3 base times height. And the specific formula you'll find in any textbook and Wikipedia, anywhere they'll tell you it's 1/3 times pi times radius squared times height. Um, I want to give you a slightly different formula that's a little more calculator friendly. So this is our calculator friendly version. So do me a favor, everybody, write this down. Volume equals, it's just going to be slightly different. Pi, whatever number for pi we want to use, times radius squared times the height, and then the end we're going to divide by 3. Okay? So divided by 3. All right, so write that down. And this is going to be our calculator version. All right, so I'd like to jump right over to some examples. I'm going to write down that calculator friendly version over here too, just to help us out. Volume equals pi, radius squared, height, and in the end divide by 3. Okay? All right. So here we go. We're going to find the volume of some cones here, 4 of them. We're going to use, for pi, we're going to use 3.14, and then we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. So that's going to be 2 decimal places. Okay? So let's just get right to this. We'll start with number 1. Do we have a radius? Yes, we do. Do we have a height? Yes, we do. Okay, so we got everything we need. So let's start off by finding the exact answer. That means we're going to leave it in terms of pi. Okay, we're going to leave our answer with pi as a number, is the symbol rather, not the number. Okay, so volume, let's just put in the numbers we know. We're going to leave pi as the value pi. Then we have to multiply by our radius squared. So that would be what number? 2 squared. And then multiply that by a height, which is 4. And then divide that by 3. Okay. So for this first one, we'll go kind of all the steps. Maybe we'll skip a step here and there after we get a little more comfortable. So what's the first thing I can do? Think of order of operations. Exponent. And it's 2 squared. So 2 squared is, in this case, 4. It's 2 times 2. So pi times 4 times 4 divided by 3. Okay? Now, this is where the calculator can help come in. We can do all these operations now all at once. 4 times 4 divided by 3. 4 times 4 divided by 3. And a lot of times we're going to get repeating decimals because of that dividing by 3. This case, that's what we get. So we get 5.3 repeating. So for our answer here, let's put 5.3 repeating, 5.3, put the bar above it because it's repeating, pi. And then the units are yards, so this is cubic yards. So this is the answer we want. 5.3 repeating cubic yards. This is the exact answer. Now, say we're building something with this and we need to know the actual volume of number we can use. That's where we use the 3.14 for pi. So that's going to be our next step. We're going to plug in 3.14. So take this answer, 5.3 repeating, and then multiply that times 3.14. So if you're wondering, how can I do that? How can I get that answer? What you want to do is 5 point and then fill it up with threes, as many threes as you can get in there. That's your 5.3 repeating, approximated, and then multiply that by 3.14. And we get 16.74 or 75. 75. We've got to round it to the nearest hundredth, two places. So 16.75. Mm-hmm. 16.75 cubic yards. So we got two separate answers, the exact answer in terms of pi and our answer here that's approximated. All right. Any questions? Let's move on to number 2 then. For number 2, we have a little bit of a problem, but it's not a big one. They're giving us a diameter of 7. So we don't want a diameter, we want the radius. We need the radius for the formula. So what's the radius if the diameter is 7? 3.5, half of that. So the radius equals 3.5 meters. Okay, so we'll use that. The height is going to be 4. And let's just go with that. So same thing as before, we're going to plug in our numbers. Volume is pi times 3.5 squared, because that's our radius, times our height, which is 4, and then divided by 3. Okay, so this is what we have to do. Now, really what we're doing is we're multiplying and dividing all of these numbers, and then just attaching pi. So why don't we do that all at once on the calculator? Kind of save ourselves some time and room. Okay, so I want to square 3.5. So that's going to be 3.5 times 3.5. Then I have to multiply that by 4. So times, make sure I do that. 5 times 3.5 times 4. Last step, divided by 3. And I get 16.3 repeating. So my answer is 16.3 repeating pi. And this is cubic meters. Okay. .3 repeating cubic meters. That is the volume there. So now let's get our approximate answer by using 3.14 for pi. So it's going to be 16.3 repeating times 3.14. So take that number, 16.3 repeating, multiply it by 3.14. 51.29. Thank you. Okay. $51.29 cubic meters. Um, okay. So I'd like you to try number 3. We got a radius of 17 and a height of 20. So first find the exact answer. Remember, expect something, probably repeating decimal. And then we'll work on the approximate answer with 3.14. So try this one, okay? I'll give you a little bit of time. So hopefully your answer was 1,926.6 repeating, in this case, cubic meters. Oh, pi. I forgot pi. Pi has to be in here. There we go. Pi cubic meters. So that's our exact answer. Let's go ahead and calculate the approximated answer. We're going to take 1,926.6 repeating. We'll try to approximate that as much as possible. Multiply that by 3.14. So the way you want to do that, say you already cleared your calculator, and I'm like, how do I get this number back? We can do a very almost exact approximation. 1,926 point, and then just as many sixes as you can fill in there. That would be a good way. And then just multiply this times 3.14. And we'll get 6,049.73. 6,049.73. And this is going to be cubic meters again. All right. Okay. So number 4. So for number 4, what do we have? Oh boy. Do you see the thing we're gonna run up against here? Do me a favor. Let's all do this. The diameter is 18.7. Would you mind dividing that number by 2 so we can get the radius? Okay. 9.35 centimeters. Yeah, so this is a diameter, but we want the radius. And it looks like 6.8 is the height. So let's calculate those. So for the volume, it's going to be pi times our radius, 9.35, squared times the height, which is 6.8. And then we're going to divide by 3. We can do that all at the same time on our calculator, even a basic one like this. Let's do 9.35. 9.35 times 9.35 times 6.8 divided by 3. And I got a 198.1576 repeating, basically. So I'm going to include all those digits. Basically, it's 6 repeating after that. So this is how I'm going to write it. It's 1576 repeating. It's going to be 6s repeating after that. So I'm going to write that down. So I'm going to move pi to the end, and it's 198.1576 157, 6 repeating, pi, cubic centimeters. Because we're dividing by 3, you're always, well, not always. If you don't have factors of 3, you are going to get repeating decimals in there. Okay, that's our exact answer. Let's approximate this with 3.14. Okay, so volume is 198.1576 repeat times 3.14. So take your number here and let's multiply it by 3.14. And that'll be 622.22. Yeah. This 1 becomes a 2 because of the 5 in the thousandth place. So 622.22 cubic centimeters. So it would be the same size as about 622 sugar cubes. Okay. All right. So for the last 2 problems we're going to work on, we're going to either be finding the height or the radius. So it's going to involve a little solving of equations. You guys ready? Well, we're going to do it anyways. Okay. Everyone ready to flip this? Okay. So it says find the missing dimensions given the volume. So they give us a volume. So for our first volume, it's 1,256 cubic feet. What else do they give us? They give us the radius. The radius is 10 feet. What we don't know is the height. This is our unknown. So let's go ahead and plug in our formula to begin with. So the formula is volume is pi times radius squared times height divided by 3. Okay. We'll put in all the numbers we do know. And the numbers we know are the volume, 1,256. We're going to use 3.14 for pi. We're going to use 10 for the radius. The height we don't know. We'll leave that as h and then divide it by 3. Okay? So let's just use all those numbers. Again, order of operations. Look at the left side. Well, the left side is just a number. We can't do anything there. On the right side, we got some multiplying, some dividing, and some squaring. Let's square that. How much is 100 squared? How much is 10 squared? 100. Okay. How much is 100 times 3.14? That's the... Yeah. Yeah, 100 times 3.14 is 314. It moves the decimal 2 places to the right. So really what we have here is 1,256 equals 314 times h divided by 3. Now, am I allowed to just divide our number by 3? Can I do 3.14 divided by 3? Sure can. I get 104.6 repeating. So we get 104.6 repeating. H. Right? Basically, 3.14 divided by 3 gave me this. Well, I'm down to the point that I want to get rid of that 104.6 repeating. What can I do to get rid of it? Divide. It's just an equation. We'll divide by 104.6 repeating on both sides. That will cancel these, okay? And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do 1,256 divided by 104 point, just fill it up with sixes. And lo and behold, your answer is 12. Okay? So all of that gave us a 12. So now we know the height is 12 feet. So the height of that cone would have to be 12 feet. So much of what we do in math is taking known values and we find unknown values. Okay, and that's a good example of that. On number 6, which dimension do we have to find? The radius. We don't know the radius. This is our unknown. The height, we do know. Looks like it's 30 yards. And we do know the volume. Okay, so the volume, 13,000 something. Okay, so let's just plug in everything we know once again. Okay, so let me write down the formula. Pi radius squared, height divided by 3. Okay, put in the numbers we know. The volume, here it goes. 13,847.4 equal sign, then pi 3.14 multiplied by radius squared. We don't know it, so just write that as r squared multiplied by the height, which is 30, divided by 3. Okay, so we have on the right side, we have 3.14 times r squared times 30 divided by 3. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do all of the number portion. I'm going to just do that. I'm going to take 3.14, multiply it by 30, then divide that by 3. I'm going to do that all at once, so I get one number for all of that. Okay? Let's try that. So take your calculator and 3.14, multiply that by 30, divide that by 3, and you get 31.4. So all of that becomes 31.4. So and we still have r squared, unfortunately. Okay, well, it's not too bad. It's smaller. At this point, we do have to divide away 31.4. To cancel these out, leave r squared by itself. At least we'll know what r squared is. So calculator time again. We're going to do 13,847.4. Divide that by 31.4. we get 441. So now I know r squared is 441, but I want r. What do I do to get r? Square root. We want to undo the squaring with a square root. And r is whatever the square root of 441 is, 21. So 21 yards. So the radius of this cone would be 21 yards. The diameter would be 42. All right. So the assignment is on IXL, and so it'll be very similar to this. If you're keeping this in your notebook, the glue sticks are up in the front. You can help yourself.